What's up, dudes? Charleston might mean something. Or headphones. Back to talking about my son again. My son, today is his birthday. He's turning 22. He's in his senior year of college over at the University of Minnesota. And my son lived on campus for the majority of his college career. This year he came back home and he's back in his old room and living at home. He tried living with his dad for a little bit, and it was great. Him and his father have a wonderful relationship, and but it didn't work out, and he's back here now. And my son knows that my very favorite, all-time favorite candy bar is a strawberry Charleston chew. And they're very hard to find. And there's a little corner shop down by the U, the campus store, that sells strawberry Charleston chews. And since my son has been going to college, when he comes home, he was very independent. He's a very independent dude. And he would stay, the U is only 25 minutes from where I live, but he lived on campus and he would stay there. And he'd come home for holidays and for the summer and that kind of stuff. But I taught my children how to be very self-sufficient. He knows how to do his own laundry. Both of my children know how to cook. And every time he would come home, he'd bring home his mama a strawberry Charleston chew, and he'd bring his sister home a Hershey's bar because he knew she liked Hershey's bars. And so he just went to school, to class, and came home and had a Charleston chew for me. He actually had two of them for me. I already ate one. And a Hershey's bar for my daughter. So, very cool dude, very chill, very friendly, very kind. Unfortunately, sometimes those kind of people, an empath, can get taken advantage of and become scapegoats, that kind of thing. My children and I are very close, and I do not have relationships with my children's fathers, but I have allowed my children to have their own separate relationship with their father. I truly understand that my relationship with their father is not my children's relationships with their father. And so we worked really hard to try to get some well-rounded kids out of some toxic relationships. So today's my son's birthday. It's just me and my two kids today. And his father is kind of in transition right now on where he is. And my ex, my daughter's father, who raised Asher since he was 3, has disappeared now. He's been gone for a couple of days. Nobody knows where he is. He lives in our basement, and he had been carrying on with an entire relationship for 2 years, hiding it from all of us. And once the cat got out of the bag that he has a girlfriend, all of our lives crumbled. He was lying to everybody. I asked him, does your girlfriend know that you have a family, that you're still legally married? We're still legally married, but we are not together. I will never get back together with either of my exes ever. And he said yes. Yes, his affair knew that his family knew nothing about her while he was fucking her for 2 years, coming through the back door with a dirty dick, walking up to me, bold-faced lying to me, and walking to the stovetop and eating whatever good food I just made. So all of our lives crumbled recently. And I'm kind of dyslexic. I'm high-functioning spectrum-y. I need help with numbers and that kind of stuff. And I'm a really good businesswoman, but I'm not so great with money, investments, anything like that. And so bills, like that kind of stuff. And my ex is in charge of all that. And so he just comes and goes when he pleases. And then goes on vacation with his girlfriend with our family money. Yeah. The last Christmas we had, he told me before we knew he had this this alternate life. He told me on Christmas Eve day that he needed $1,000 or the kids weren't going to get any Christmas presents. Because I kept telling him, should I go buy Christmas presents? And he said, no, he's a control freak. No, I will do it. And then Christmas Eve day came, and he said, we're going to lose the house, and we're not going to have any Christmas presents for the kids. My two good kids who've never been in trouble. My son's made the dean's list. He's a teacher's assistant. He works for a video game studio. Really great kids. My daughter is in some AP classes in high school. I've never grounded either of my kids. They've never told me to fuck off. They don't slam the doors. They're good kids. Out of the blue, he says, do you have any money? He does this to me. He sniffs me out to see if I have any money saved up, squirreled away. And I had some money in my work account. And I said, yes. So I transferred $1,000 that I had saved up over. And he said, I'm going to work. I'll come back with presents. Yeah, no, he went and took that $1,000 to this hoe bag girlfriend and did Christmas with her, apparently. He also took our money and went on vacation with her. Yeah, so it's been very traumatic for us, very traumatic. And us three are trying to pick up the pieces and figure out a new beginning for all of us. Unfortunately, my dad used to help me with like big finances type stuff, and he has passed, and I don't really have any help. My dad was extremely proud of my son. My dad had a gold Rolex that he wore every day. My dad was in the car business, and he got this Rolex from, I believe it was from Ford Motor Company for being in the business and doing so well all these years. He mostly worked at Lincoln Mercury dealerships. So I grew up with my dad in the car business. I grew up going to dealerships. My first job was a receptionist. Premier Lincoln Mercury, this is Molly. How may I help you? Please hold. Used cars, line 1, please. Used cars, line 1. That was one of my first jobs. And he was so proud of my son. My dad loved the Golden Gophers. He wore Minnesota Gophers stuff all the time. My son was going to be the first grandchild that graduated from high school. And then my dad passed before my son graduated. But before my dad passed, he sat down with me and he said, I want you to know Asher is going to get my watch. My dad knew he was going to die. He had a terminal lung disease. And My sister has her eldest son. Unfortunately, got caught up in drugs and addiction. And he was the only grandchild for 12 years. So he got all of my dad's precious things. He got all the collectible sports memorabilia, everything for those 12 years until more grandchildren came. But my dad had already given his first grandson, his first grandchild, the only one, all of the things. Unfortunately, he got caught up in addiction and pawned everything. So he had nothing to show for it. And my dad, when he was passing, there was still a rift between those two. And my dad said, Molly, I want you to know that Asher is going to get the watch. And I said to my dad, did you tell my sister? And my mother and father told me after that, they called my sister and told my sister that my son was going to get the watch. And they told me that my sister cried and was upset, but she said she understood. And my dad passed fully believing his grandson Asher, who was going to the University of Minnesota, was going to get his watch. Yeah, that didn't happen. Nope, it didn't happen. So what has happened is I am the scapegoat of my family, and my son has now slid into the scapegoat role as well. And after he passed, my sister's eldest met a woman in drug rehabilitation who was living under house arrest for heroin, I believe. And he knew her for a very short amount of time, got her pregnant, and there was a big chance she was going to go to jail for a really long time. And this new baby was a little ray of hope. And thank God she went to court. She didn't go to jail. Apparently, I've never met her. Apparently, she is a wonderful mother. My nephew has cleaned up his act. The last time I saw him, he was dropping his son off. He told me I have to watch my kid. He's not with the baby's mom. I have to watch my kid for 2 days a week. Yeah, I leave him either at my mom's or at my dad's house. Yeah, I work during the week. I need a break. That's what he said. I said, oh, well, what are you doing while you're not having your son? He didn't say. So, my family has created a false reality. My mother and my sister have become like this, and they have ostracized me and shunned me because I had a spiritual awakening and I stopped sliding into the scapegoat role. And it irritated them. This is a role that my family has done since the day I was born, really. And I got a call from my mother and my sister, and they decided to tell me that they have re-gifted the watch and it is now going to go to the baby. And they gave it to the baby for its 1-year birthday. My mother, on my son's graduation, held my hand, told me what a wonderful mother I was to my really good children who never gotten in trouble, how proud she was of me. She is going to make sure Asher gets the watch, but she's going to hold on to it till he graduates from college. That's what she told me. And we had a special mother-daughter moment. I don't get these special moments with my mother very often. And so I said, Mom, I think that's a good idea. I think Dad's watch is more of an appropriate gift for a college graduate. Yeah. Well, my mom and my sister changed reality. They did not fulfill my dad's wishes, and they gave the watch to the baby on its 1 year birthday, on his 1 year birthday. And I said to my mother, wow, it fractured our family. Doing that fractured our family. And I said, how could you guys disrespect Dad so much? That's not what Dad wanted. Dad didn't even know the baby. I love the baby. I love AJ, my sister's eldest son. But that watch isn't for them. It was for Asher. Dad died thinking that watch was going to Asher. Well, the truth irritated them and they stopped talking to me. My mother has since said, I made a terrible mistake and I'm not going to hurt any more people's feelings, and the baby's getting the watch. So now the watch, I said, well, Mom, who has the watch? I don't know, she said. When my mom gets irritated, she takes this antagonizing tone with me. And I was crying. I said, you're going to tell me right now you don't know who's in possession of the watch? Yes. It turns out, that 2 recovering addicts have the watch. Somebody that's been in our life for a year, the mother of this baby. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my nephew is walking around with my dad's watch on that belongs on Asher's wrist, and they were shameless about it. And my father died thinking that his grandson Asher, who he loved too, the thing is my sister and my mother haven't had Sonder activated. And Sonder is such a profound feeling, it has a word for it, S-O-N-D-E-R. And my computer is getting pulled up right now, so I can't look it up and read the definition to you. But basically it's when you have this very profound feeling that you understand other people all around you are living a life just as dynamic as yours, with hopes and dreams just as important as yours. That you, like, the world doesn't revolve around you. There are other people that deserve blessings and rewards as well. And they've never had Sonder activated in this situation at all. And my mother still can't understand. She has said, I made a terrible mistake by telling you you could have it. She's just trying to cover up her mistake. What I think happened was my mother and my sister had nothing for the baby for its 1 year birthday. So they just stole Asher's watch and gave it to the baby. They called my son without me knowing and said, Asher, we have a great idea. Well, you were supposed to get this watch from Grandpa, but it's not worth a lot of money. The face got refaced on it. He put a new glass face on it. So it's not worth very much. They did not tell him it was a Rolex, what it was, anything. How do you feel about giving it to the baby? What was my son supposed to say? No, Grandma and Auntie, no. Grandpa wanted me to have that. What was my son supposed to say? So my mother and my sister called me and said, Asher said the baby could have it. I said, absolutely not. That's not what Dad wanted. You are disrespecting your husband and my father and your father. That is not. My dad died thinking Asher was going to get the watch with specific instructions for my son to get the watch. And they freaked the fuck out. Then we called my son, three-way, and my son started crying on the phone. And I said, Ash, it's okay, you can talk. And he said, I have lost so many people on my dad's side of the family to drugs. I'm just glad AJ is alive. He can have whatever he wants. That's the eldest grandson. Immediately my mom says, see, he said he could have it. I said, don't you hear him weeping? My sister in the background on speakerphone, being all bossy. My sister has rage issues. I said to my sister, I love you. Because she goes, why do you hate the baby? Why do you hate my son? I said, I don't hate them. I love them. I hate this lie. Then I started saying to my sister, I said her name, and I said, I love you. Do you hear me? And she refused to acknowledge me saying I love her. So I said it again. I said, I love you. I love you. Do you hear me saying I love you? I love you. My sister announces in front of my son, well, on this three-way call, this is an illness, Asher. You deserve better. And then they hung up on us. Then my son gets a text. See, what everybody forgets is my son is smarter than everybody. My son gets a text from his aunt, who my mother and my sister have made it very clear that they have their own private relationships with my children because they have shunned me. But they triangulate my own children. The idea that they have their own relationships with my children, to me, it's very, very toxic, and it's been very, very abusive. She sends my son a text where my sister is very good at wiggling out of whatever she just did. And she says, your mother's a really good mother. My son immediately sent me a screenshot. She says, your mom is a good mom. Just backtracking on all the smear campaign she just did on the phone. And then she said, now keep in mind, my sister has shunned me now for 3 years. She has no idea who I am now, what I do, anything. Before that, she got in a rage on the phone and said, you don't go anywhere, you don't do anything, you never leave the house, you don't have any friends. And I said, that's just not true. Like, why are you making this up? Who are you telling this to? You haven't talked to me in years. And I do go out all the time. I do have friends. Like, who are you doing this smear campaign on? Everything you've said negative about me is just not true. You've completely made this up. So in the text, she says, When I was talking about an illness, it didn't have to do with autism. My sister, who I said, hey, I am spectrum, I'm high functioning autistic. And my sister screamed back, bullshit, prove it. That's how my sister handled that. So she said, it has nothing to do with autism. It just seems like, she's something like, it just seems like your mother actually gets caught in rabbit holes where she can't get out. So she manipulated and twisted me saying, I love you to her repeatedly because she refused to acknowledge me saying it. And to now I have an illness that gets me caught in a repeated rabbit hole. And she tried to plant a seed of doubt to my own fucking son. This is how evil this has gotten. How greedy this has gotten. How mean-spirited this has gotten. I'm the only person who has done any kind of work with psychologists, anything like that in my family, besides my aunt, who my parents raised. And my sister was literally trying to convince my son that I have a mental illness that gets me caught in a rabbit hole that I can't get out of. And I'm going to insert the screenshot right here. Yeah, that's some next level bullshit. And they did that right after they announced they stole the watch from my son to give to my sister's grandchild that my dad never even knew. Well, the last time I talked to my mother about it, she said if I ever bring this up again, she will block me. And the baby is getting the watch. She's not going to make it right. So that's what it's like to be a scapegoat of a family. If you bow out of being a scapegoat, they will in turn do it onto your child. So today it's just me and my 2 kids celebrating my son's 22nd birthday. I'm going to give my son some cash for his birthday. We've already talked about it, my daughter and I. He's going to get $222 because he's turning 22. A big birthday. But make no doubt about it, he should be receiving a watch that belonged to my dad. And my dad died thinking he was going to get that watch. And this watch, this greed, this rewriting the truth, this smear campaign, this ostracizing, this blocking, totally fractured my family. And I understand everything that happened because I've done the spiritual work. I've done the psychology work. Such is life. Life goes on. My dad has visited me 4 times since he passed. I'm hoping he'll visit again. All right, so there's the message. Shameless. And I get bullied if I bring it up because they have a bruised ego. They know they did something horrific. They know my dad died with instructions that watch goes to my son Asher, and my dad fully believed that those 2 would honor his wishes. And they didn't. And they didn't give a shit about it. All right. So anyways, my son shut it down when my sister sent that text. My son loves me, his mother. My son knows who I am. My son is not going to let his aunt place seeds of doubt about his mother's mental health. He shut it down and said, not cool. My mother and my sister live in a false reality where they believe everybody's cool with this. This broke everybody's heart. This complete disrespect. Gemini. Scorpio. When my son graduated from high school, I said, we're going to take him out to dinner at the steakhouse. He likes going to Outback Steakhouse. And so I said, we're going to go to the steakhouse before the ceremony. And my mother and my sister were coming, and her eldest son was going to show up for dinner. And so we said dinner is at this time, which gave us a 2-hour window to eat before the ceremony. Did they show up on time? No, they were running late. We're running late. Yeah, the eldest son can't make it. He's running late. We're running late. They're running late. They arrived. We had 45 minutes to eat at the steakhouse. So we got our food, and we had 15 minutes basically to chow down as fast as we could because my family couldn't get their shit together for my son. His dad, I texted his dad, said we're going to Outback. He said we're going to skip the dinner. Oh, you skipped your son's graduation dinner? So my son has really gotten the shit end of the deal repeatedly. Aries. Gemini, Scorpio, and Aries. What does Spirit want to show you? It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. Death landed on Call the Mermaid. Lemuria returns. Earthly spirituality, community, and ocean conservation. Death. I am learning that endings are merely beginnings. So I found out, my mother finally told me that the eldest grandson and his baby mama were given the watch. And I said, have you seen the eldest grandson walking around wearing my father's watch? She said, I haven't bothered to take notice. So I'm pretty sure the eldest grandson who fucked my dad over all the way up until he died is wearing the watch that was meant for my son. And my dad made it really clear that he's not going to fuck the watch over. And in the end, yeah, it's called the Golden Child. And I love him. I loved him since the day he was born. But I hate the fucking game. My mother and sister said, well, we thought the baby would like to have an heirloom. Yeah, I'm sure my son's child, when he has children, would love the watch that was meant for him. And if I want family in my life, I cannot speak about it anymore. I've been instructed by my mother, or I will be blocked forever. Wasting time. Look at this. Stuck. No changes. Limited. So both of those two drop their child off twice a week. And nobody really knows what they're doing when they're not taking care of their kid. Creating dialogue and getting participation. Next message. Release. And release landed right on Call the Mermaid. Visions. Psychic images, clairvoyance, seeing, out-of-body travel. I had a spiritual awakening due to narcissist abuse all around me. I now understand myself in a deeper way. And thank God I did. Because right before my awakening, it was so dark. So dark. That I don't know if I would still be here. And a lot of people who have had a spiritual awakening were at that precipice. Where it was so dark. And that's why I do what I do. To give people hope that it is going to get better. And me and my little family, me and my 2 children, who get unconditional love, and they give me unconditional love back, are going to celebrate my son's birthday tonight at Outback Steakhouse. You're my person. There's the message.